I can think of no better way to celebrate my half birthday than beating USC.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And hey, Super Bowl 59 is here. There's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Where we get started today, hey, UCLA, they're on quite the run. Think about it. The Bruins, 82-76 victors over that ugly team across town, USC. And despite all that, despite all my nonsense and trash talk, it was a higher scoring game probably than I would have anticipated. And UCLA mostly having this game, one could have thought in the bag. Aday Mara goes to the bench. They extend the lead to 10. He comes back out. And then USC immediately goes on a run and puts UCLA in a whole bit of worry. If USC could have hit any of those free throws down the stretch, they missed 8 overall in the game. And I think, what they miss? 6 in the second half. USC missed 7 free throws in the second half. And at least 3 of them had a chance to tie the game, or in some cases, maybe even take the lead. Missed every single one of those. And then Sebastian Mack was the one who hit the dagger three-pointer. Dylan Andrews on Friday night was the one who hit the game-winning step back. This time it was Sebastian Mack who came through with 2 of his 3-point shots, 2 big-time triples, and made all of his free throws. Despite some terrible pulls and situations, he came up with 14 points. And it's like, oh, wait, UCLA, they're battling. Let's not forget the Aday Mara legend grows. 12 points, 11 rebounds. He was excellent defensively. We got to see the Spaniards start this game. Mara had 5 blocks, all right? So not only is he dominating defensively, he came through and was super impactful with growing his game defensively and rebounding and scoring, doing it all. This is all without Tyler Bilodeau, UCLA's leading scorer, who rolled his ankle pretty badly against Washington. So now that's 2 straight games, both on the road, against scrappy teams who UCLA has seen Washington. Washington this year has taken Illinois to the wire. USC has won at Illinois this year. And the Bruins, without their leading scorer for 2 straight games, have won back-to-back games on the road. So they've swept Washington. They've earned a win against USC on the road. They've earned a win against Washington on the road. So that means UCLA has beaten 3 Big Ten opponents on the road, all Pac-12 legacy schools. Huge for the resume, huge for the ego, and now the Bruins have 3 big-time home games coming up. They got Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan State. Not in that order, but those are all the games coming up, right? So UCLA, if they can beat Oregon, that could be a huge sweep. And then next thing you know, that adds another top 21 to the resume. Michigan State's the top team in the Big Ten this year. Top 10 team coming in unbeaten potentially this upcoming Tuesday. Should be a sold-out Pauley Pavilion. Next 2 games should be sold out for UCLA, rocking and rolling, as the Bruins are maybe going to navigate life for the rest of this week without Tyler Bilodeau. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen any Cronin comments just yet. So that could be a big sore spot for UCLA going against the Ducks. However, a huge road win earlier against Oregon. The big game for UCLA to win coming up is the Michigan State game. Not saying that will happen, not guaranteeing that by any stretch of the imagination. All UCLA's done is continue to grow and have newfound life with Aday Mara. All that destruction they've dealt with in the paint, now UCLA is usually evened up in the paint. They're winning the rebounding battle. And then next thing you know, UCLA in a game with UCLA SC, 5 blocks for UCLA, 0 for USC. And those 5 blocks came from one player, Mara rejecting quite a few. This came in a game where Kobe Johnson, limited impact. I thought he had a decent game with a raucous home crowd booing him at every stretch, but he fouled out in 28 minutes. Dylan Andrews hit some clutch buckets. He had 6 assists, kept the ball with him. Sky Clark struggled early, wasn't his usual self after playing 8 first-half minutes. Stefanovic hit a couple of buckets and got some free throws late to put the Bruins in command and control to win this one. Even Trent Perry, 5 points, all from the free throw line. UCLA, a team we've seen this year absolutely choke it in certain moments in the free throw line, came through in the clutch, one without their leading scorer, had a starting guard in foul trouble, one of their best defenders foul out early when the game was really close. And UCLA not only won this game, but won it late. And the Bruins, even though it didn't technically come out into a 5 points or less, a one-possession game, which the Bruins have been pretty good at winning so far this year, this kind of still qualifies in that category because we saw USC make a run late, and the Bruins have won these games, and now they've done it on the road. The big win against Washington, the win against Oregon, the win against USC. Life in the Big Ten is not easy. And now after UCLA couldn't buy a win in January, they will be wrapping up the month with now 4 straight wins. And that is just how it is. Not like the Pac-12 where you can have some bottom feeders, changes from year to year. UCLA, unfortunately, last year was a little closer to the bottom, middle of the pack than they were the top in the previous year or years before that with Mick Cronin. But this team is a competitive team, and I think they found a new, re-energized competitive feel. We haven't truly seen Aday Mara break out with Bilodeau all going at once. Now that Mara's in the starting lineup, does that continue when Bilodeau gets back? I don't know. Or does Mara come off the bench and you save his minutes, he played 27, and let him play a little later in the game? Or, as I've seen some of you suggested, even other UCLA fans suggest, you got a 7-3 kid, you're going to probably win the jump. You're going to win the jump ball. Let him do that, get the opening possession, and the UCLA Bruins can potentially go down and score if Mata's in the game. Early on, UCLA went with the press. Didn't exactly work. USC shot themselves into it and out of this game. They had 11 threes, shot nearly 50%. Cronin's not going to be happy with that. The Bruins didn't force enough turnovers to get USC out of rhythm. But here's the thing. When they are missing shots at the paint, obviously the missed free throws will be just hated on by the USC Trojans. Eric Musselman was losing his mind, and we've seen Mick Cronin do that. This was the first introduction. This was the introduction for Eric Musselman into this rivalry as the first-year head coach. And Mick Cronin, we saw how much he struggled coming in after losing all those battles against Andy Enfield. Said, hey, Eric, you can't come into this rivalry and just win it right away at home. That's not how it's going to go. Now, can the Bruins sweep this team later? That's what will help the resume and put UCLA in the top third of the Big Ten standings, or will keep them in the middle of the pack as the schedule continues to get tougher. Still 3 trips to the state of Indiana to come for UCLA. The Indiana-Illinois trips, the Purdue and Northwestern trips, and the Big Ten tournament all left to come as UCLA has 3 straight home games to start the month of February and end January, with Oregon coming to Pauley this coming Thursday. The unique schedule with the move away from Thursday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday like it was in the Pac-12, all because of national TV, it really messes with the brain. All that to say, the Bruins, 3 players in double figures, shot it okay, and they keep finding different players to hit the clutch bucket, and a great way for UCLA to put up 82 points on a rockin' road crowd, all trying to boo one of UCLA's leading players on defense in Kobe Johnson. Fantastic. We'll talk more about it next. Here's a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. The taxes, they're waiting. They're wondering and worrying if you're going to get any money back, all right? And then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now taxes, they're matching with a TurboTax expert, and they can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantee. Again, that's TurboTax.com/guarantee. Now, coming up for UCLA, they're going to go play Oregon, right? And Oregon really ate them up inside with their 7-footer, Nate Biddle. a little bit of some shots from deep. UCLA shot a bit better, held a late lead, and how UCLA played Oregon was similar to how the USC went. The Bruins, maybe not statistically, had that 10-point lead. Oregon dashed to a late lead. If USC had made their free throws, they would have taken that late lead, and the Bruins would have needed a miracle last-second three to win that game on the road. Today, USC missed their free throws, got to within a point, and then Mack, partying up and down the lane, hit a dagger three that put USC's near-miracle hopes for a comeback to bed. Coming up against Oregon round 2, how do these coaches make adjustments? Well, UCLA now has their 7-footer to contend with, their own to match potentially Oregon's big man. How does UCLA match up in a second-round battle in a single regular season against Oregon at home? Now that the vibes and the energy hopefully should be back in the building, the UCLA Bruins going for their 5th win in a row, could be another top 15, top 16 win for against Oregon if they get it. Oregon has beaten some of the best teams in the country in neutral floors. So any win against Oregon is huge. And after their 3-game winning streak, I thought the Bruins might get some AP top 25 love. No, they received like 1 vote. I don't even think they received a vote in the coaches poll, but you beat USC on the road, who already has a huge road win at Illinois. You go beat Oregon. That's some top 25 love coming into next week. And the Bruins move from falling down to the 8-9 matchup to having a closer first-round game. And I believe the closest West Coast game this season in the first and second rounds are Denver. And then maybe you play in the West where the tournament regional finales are in San Francisco. Hopefully against a beatable 2, 3, 4, 1 seed in your bracket. Dare I say UCLA earns one of those if they continue this stretch. Now, they're not going to win every game the rest of the year. They're probably going to lose 2 or 3, maybe 4 more games. But the more you stack these wins, a lot of these have been coming on the road. You hold serve at home. The only thing you've done is lost to Michigan at home. And then you take care of the business on the road, which would mean having to beat a Northwestern, having to beat Indiana, who is battling for their tournament lives. Some of these teams UCLA is playing on the road, that will be their signature win that gets them in the tournament or keeps them out when and if UCLA plays them at that time, with bracketology continuing to update. I'd expect UCLA to be hovering near the 7, close to the 6 seed line the next time bracketology comes out. And you beat Oregon, then you're guaranteed to be the 6, move into the 5, and that shows you're a top 25 team, top 20 team with a lot of more movement and potential to grow moving forward. I can't wait for the Oregon matchup. It'll be another test for the UCLA guards. It'll be a huge test to see if Bilodeau's ready to go. I remember the broadcast for the game on Fox Sports 1 tonight was talking about, Bilodeau was moving okay during the pregame warm-ups. But do you want to use him now against Oregon? Or is this another run for how can UCLA play big without Bilodeau? And that just adds that extra punch with more rest when they play Michigan State in a few days. And considering UCLA has that win against Oregon in the bag, I haven't seen any Mick Cronin comments in this podcast after the game. I wonder if he's going to play, because regardless of what Cronin says, it's how it responds the next day. And then one more day of practice heading into game day. Can it handle all that action, considering UCLA loves and had prioritized giving Tyler Bilodeau the ball? Well, if that's not the case, then it should be the Aday Mara show and a battle of big men between the Bruins and the Ducks, because Mata continues to grow and has added UCLA a new weapon, which could be instrumental for the Bruins going from fading out of tournament love to, this team can make a tournament. And it's not just Mata that needs to grow and become an important factor. It's William Kyle. And maybe William Kyle's not going to get 15, 20 minutes like Mata is going to get, but his minutes will be impactful. He's made some big blocks like he did against Wisconsin to win the game for UCLA. The Bruins need William Kyle to grow and develop. And he's not going to be the offensive gifted player that Mata is. But hey, you know what was clutched by William Kyle today that USC couldn't do? William Kyle hit both of his free throws. He had 2 free throws. He had 4 points, made a shot, 4 personal fouls in 12 minutes. Okay, a unique matchup where UCLA was seeing the length from Mata hurt USC tonight. But Kyle, hey, he made a couple of free throws. Almost all the Bruins hit their free throws, except for Aday Mara today, where he was 0 for 3. hit or miss after making the majority of his free throws. Last couple of times, this time, not so much. Good, gutsy win for UCLA on the road. Finished this game with a 5-for-7 streak from the floor, turned it over less than 10 times. They took care of the basketball. They out-rebounded. Second chance points slightly in USC's favor, but you add in the blocks, the steals, the deflections. This game was never tied. The lead changed twice. USC was this close to tying it. They gave UCLA all they could handle, and I don't even think USC played all too well. They scored well. They didn't turn it over as much. They were very efficient shooting outside the free throw line, but I still think UCLA played the much better game and let USC back in it. But man, the Trojans rode that home crowd and got back in it in the blink of an eye. Shouldn't be the same type of treatment Kobe Johnson's going to get at the end of the regular season when the Bruins play USC then. That would have been a huge win for USC if they could have won it at home and maybe crept into some NCAA tournament conversations and battle into, hey, are we the first four out, last four out, first four in, last four in, right? Trying to get into that conversation. The Bruins said, not today. Got to go beat somebody else and continue this hot streak and resurgence with the lovable Aday Mara. And Cronin's been teasing and saying how much he's worked. The players love him. And now that he's blossoming on this stage, can only mean good things, hopefully, are to come for UCLA. Not just good things, but great things. And speaking of great things to come, UCLA football has thrown out a lot of offers these last few days. Let's go over some. What state they've kind of gone after during the contact period for UCLA recruiting right now. We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with the FanDuel Sportsbook. With FanDuel Sportsbook, right? Predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss. Whether you're a degenerate or not, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 is bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, an official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, last segment. Where's UCLA trying to hit up football recruiting-wise? Now, let's think of certain places you could want to hotbeds for recruiting. You got California, you got Texas, you got Florida, you got some places in the South. Different states have different players. UCLA, I think, has recently attempted to go after one of the top players in the state of Colorado. UCLA just offered the top defensive recruit in Colorado in 2026. I could try and say his name, but he's from Englewood Cherry Creek in 2026 to Fanua Eotona Umukais. And I've definitely butchered his name, but that's one of the players UCLA has gotten in on. He's a 3-star, but he's got 24 offers mixing in with the USCs, the Tennessees, Arizona States, Auburns, Colorado, of course. And if Coach Prime's around and really wants him, I would think Colorado could get a kid like that. But hey, they're going after some top defensive recruits. And if UCLA starts flexing their muscle, hopefully they can start winning these battles when you want to get a top defensive line recruit and not just lose them with the late flip like they did having to go after Lucian Holland, flipping him from Boise State, while they saw their top D-line commit UCLA did go to Ohio State at the last second of the early signing day in 2024 heading to the 2025. Now, the place UCLA has been recruiting with the early contact period, seeing all these offers come out, has been the state of Florida. Why the state of Florida? Well, let's think about it. Florida State has really gone downhill, right? They went from snubbed in the 4-team CFP, and if they were really good a year later, they would have certainly been in. Then you've got Florida, who's hot and cold. You can throw in a Katy Perry lyric there, mixing in with Billy Napier. Are they good? Did they beat somebody? Did they knock out Ole Miss from the playoffs to win? Who knows with Florida? And then there's Miami. And I know UCF's a Big 12 team, and there's a lot of Florida football. But UCLA could use some connects. I think I've seen Deshaun Foster, Andy Kwan, the new offensive line coach, one of the many new UCLA coaches and coaching staff updates and changes this year. They're putting in work in Florida. Because as much as I have gone out there and said, hey, UCLA has a lot of talent, they just hosted a junior day. The 2026 recruits to come out to UCLA, and some of the recruits are like, hey, quote, I think I saw pieces of the Rivals article for UCLA Rivals in the Bruin Blitz, talk about, hey, one of the quotes from some of the players, UCLA is a dream offer. Hell yeah, it is. Hell yeah, it's a dream offer. Players want to go to UCLA. Not just players, people want to go to UCLA. It's one of the number one public institutions in the world, not just public institutions, but schools across the country and the globe. They know what those four letters mean, UCLA. And you represent the brand, you represent the school. It comes with it. Yeah, you play football, but for some of the kids who want to add in the education, add in the glitz and the glamour of Los Angeles and Westwood, Big Ten money, of course, but you get the education at UCLA, you can set yourself up for life beyond just that initial paycheck of NIL bucks or potential athletic success. So you got to go recruit these kids in your own backyard across the country that say, hey, I got good grades, I'm a pretty decent football player, or any athletic skill for that matter, and bring them to UCLA and make that happen. Now, heading into Florida, seeing, all right, Miami, they're growing, but they keep going after transfer quarterbacks. They've been that close, but then they also did something dumb a couple years ago, and they felt that they blew it late. And last year, when the ACC was up for grabs and they had a clear shot of making the CFP, they blew their opportunity and allowed Clemson to get in, and SMU, an ACC newcomer. Think of all these newcomers that made it to the CFP this last year, right? You had SMU, you had Oregon, you had Texas as some of these teams all making it in the CFP as new conference-affiliated members in their first year as a conference member. While UCLA, now you go after these teams that are kind of fading, like the Miamis, the Florida States, who's trying to stay in the ACC or get out and get to the SEC with more money. All these schools that don't know what's going on, and now, hey, a couple more recruits. Hey, let's go after Florida. Bring them west. Like the warm weather, you like the beach? All right, I can't guarantee the ocean going to be that warm, even though it might be heating up a little bit on the LA side. It's not as warm as Florida, but the talent on the gridiron certainly is. UCLA has begun to battle with all these other schools, NIL-wise. You see Stacey Ford out there, the director of recruiting. Deshaun Foster's making his face known. Deshaun Foster has this weird rap on him, right? He's a guy that isn't the most loquacious, but he understands the image. Chip Kelly has turned into more of a quotable coach as of late, but Deshaun Foster has become more aware, and probably was a lot more aware of how to interact with the players and how to maintain the UCLA image, what it means, and how to maintain a program image in this new day and age, right? It's not just I got to sell this kid for 3 to 4 years. Got to sell him now. You got to keep him interested. Got to make sure the bag is just as big when some big school realizes, oh, this kid's really good. We're going to throw a big stack of cash at him. Or some donor's going to throw $10 million at a quarterback of some sort, right? Michigan. You add in a $20 million roster, Ohio State, all those things. So Deshaun Foster understands. Now, there's a lot of things working against him. The fan apathy heading into his tenure, the dislike of how Martin Jarmond and the UCLA Athletic Administration handled the Chip Kelly departure and hiring of Deshaun Foster. Of course, the Big Ten Media Day doesn't help. But now you're going after new recruits, lots of offers. Like a bunch of 2026 recruits have come in and gotten a lot of offers. I've gotten offered. Just go look at the list on social media. Go at the 24/7 sports site. See how many kids are getting offered. How many players could potentially come to UCLA. Now, they're all going to change their minds, as they always do at the last minute, or when somebody slips them, hey, this is the potential NIL deal you could get offered if you come to this school. Okay. Now, I wonder if the NCAA legislation and everything will change by 2026 or 2027. It seems to be heading towards some sort of change in the world of college football and athletic competition at the NCAA level. But until then, Deshaun Foster is doing his best to move forward with a new platform, a new image to make his team pretty good. And now, yes, you got Brady, you got the quarterback who was committed to Florida State, who lives in UCLA, potentially we'll talk about them in the next Locked On UCLA episode. But the crumbling of some of those Florida schools and some of those teams that are going after California kids, you can keep those kids in your own backyard and steal some of those recruits from their home state and bring them out west. Knowing, hey, the ACC, yeah, there's Clemson and stuff, but you can make a lot more playing in the Big Ten. We've seen, oh, wow, who was the number one team in the country for a long time? Oregon, who won it? We don't want to say it, but it was Ohio State. A lot of good football being played in the Midwest and in the West Coast. Deshaun Foster can flex and say, hey, we can be a part of that. You can play under the lights. You can play at the Rose Bowl, as everybody says, the most iconic college football place in all of America, one of the most iconic stadiums across the world. We already know that. But you mix all that in with a good NIL offer, if that's the case, if that's what's going to seal the deal. And the Bruins are building, and they understand the recruiting. Right? I remember reading the Ben Bolch article from LA Times heading into this new recruiting class. The players have already come out and said, yeah, the recruiting, they tell me what they want me to play, whether it's a hybrid, right? Whether it's the new incoming Loyola kid, linebacker, or a hybrid, whatever he's going to play. They make it a little clear as what's going to happen. It's not going to have to go directly and be Chip Kelly's stamp of approval. No, they've changed the game. And now it shifts the blame to say, hey, maybe it's the system that's going to be broken as opposed to what it was for UCLA, a head coach who didn't care. They got a head coach who cares. Now, he's not going to win us over with a fun joke every 5 seconds or be loud and bombastic or be so confident and brash like Curt Cignetti. But now the Bruins are building something, and they've thrown a lot of offers, including checking out the state of Florida with quite a few offers right now as they can go contact recruits in this stage of the winter for 2026 and beyond. Can't wait to see what Deshaun Foster has up his sleeve. We'll talk next about a potential quarterback UCLA could get, top-tier quarterback who decommitted from Florida State in our next Locked On UCLA episode, including more basketball, more women's basketball, all that and more. Like, comment, subscribe, download, review. Thanks for your support, UCLA fans. Hey, when you beat USC, you get your hands up and we get loud and proud, all right? Basketball, that's our territory. And we're going to try and win that ground on football and kick some SC butt. And we can't wait for February 13th, when the women square off in what should be a 1 versus 3 or 4 battle for Big Ten national supremacy on the West Coast. All that coming up on Locked On UCLA. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA BSC. It's been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.